This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There he is, ready to go. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm doing good. A little over a week till it gets for real, but I'd say for what they have in place right now, things are coming together rather well during the preseason.
I got an interesting one that I want to bring up to you because it was brought up in your Ask Ira, and it was asked, and you and I have talked about this many times, is the luxury tax becoming a thing for the Miami Heat? And here's what I want to ask you. So you're not willing to go over the tax for PJ Tucker, but now you sign Udonis Haslem. So then you've got the whole Kane situation. Now you sign him to a two-way deal, but you also had to sacrifice somebody else in the process. And then we kind of keep hearing that, well, they're not willing to go into the luxury for Jamal Kane or any of these other young guys because you don't do that. But if you're not willing to go into PJ Tucker or Jamal Kane or anything like that, then you're just waiting for the one superstar move. That's the only way you're going to go about it. But if you want to be this developmental team, well, then here are the lumps you're going to have to take. And the negatives of finding a Jamal Kane is, well, add it to the group of young guys that you have now, but you got to worry about a tax. To me, when I hear a billionaire worried about a tax, it just rubs me the wrong way. It's not, optics. It's not good for optics because you're asking fans to commit to season tickets and to do all of that. And they've got to, there are people that it's probably 10-15% of their income their entire year, those season tickets. They're busting their ass to go to games. Can we say that the owner is willing to max out all the time to try to win? And maybe is that a fair question right now?
I would put it this way, without getting too much into Orlando Alzugaray's income bracket. Orlando, you leave your house today, you're walking out to the mall, you see a dollar bill on the ground. Do you bend over to pick it up?
Hell yeah, bitch.
Okay. So your $1 bill you're picking up. So for you to summarily tell Mickey Harrison and Nick Harrison,
penny, not
just wait. I want to give you perspective. You're asking them to just overlook the $10 million luxury tax payment they get by staying under the tax. So in other words, I'm trying to make apples to apples by saying Orlando Alzugaray, gazillionaire, is willing to bend over and pick up a dollar bill there at a mall. And Mickey Harrison and Nick Harrison are saying, you know what? $10 million, that's still a decent amount of money for our business. That's the thing. The payoff is so significant in the NBA this year because of teams like the Nets and teams like the Warriors.
Meanwhile, the taxpayers pay for his arena, his upgrades on his arena. Stephen Ross pays for all his upgrades in his arena. Jorge Mas builds a stadium for fun in Commercial Boulevard that's nearly $200 million, a stadium he's going to abandon when he builds the one in Miami that a minor league team will be playing there, and only a couple hundred people, friends and family, are ever going to show up there. So while I'm watching Vinny Viola and Doug Sifu pour in millions over at War Memorial and build practice arenas, meanwhile, we keep giving Mickey Harrison handouts.
And I would say, and again, I'm just trying to take an even line here, the amount of money Mickey Harrison has put into the Miami Heat that has exceeded the salary cap has been overwhelming. Now, Orlando, in sports where there's a hard cap.
That's his requirement.
Okay, no. In sports where there's a hard cap like the NHL, you have a set limit. You're never going to go over that. As you know, we have lost quality players over the year. The NFL, to a degree, is the same way. You get in trouble, you have dead money, you can't spend extra. It makes it easier for Stephen Ross. This is why Mickey Harrison, when they had the last NBA lockout, said, I want a hard cap. And he wanted a hard cap because if he had cost certainty on one end, it would be easier to handle the ancillary on the other. But over the years, during the Big Three era and the money he's put out, I mean, hell, Big O, I'll put it this way. You talk about contracts the Heat have given out. You certainly are not a fan of the Duncan Robinson contract. You certainly were not a fan of the Kyle Lowry at age 35 contract. You certainly had question about the Jimmy Butler playing through his 30th birthday on that contract. And I think it only took you a couple of months before you said, what the hell are they giving Hassan Whiteside $98 million for? The Heat have spent.
Oh no, I was against all those contracts,
right. The Heat have spent money,
and on top of the bullshit that they sold all you guys that you all kept rewriting. Oh, these are interchangeable contracts. They weren't interchangeable until the back end of their deals.
Yes,
then any deal becomes interchangeable at the back end because
they did get off the money earlier. But the point being is they put money into the products. You might call it fool's money, just like you did with the Adama Sue contract. You were ahead of that also. So what I'm saying is, I don't think you can go on here on the Big O show and the Acura Pembroke Pines report and say Mickey Arison is not spending. I think what you can say is he's misspending or putting his money in the wrong place. The other
We're not putting enough. We're not putting enough. I mean,
in the payroll,
how do you not bring back PJ Tucker, man?
You don't bring up PJ Tucker because of a structural flaw in the CBA that makes you hard capped so you couldn't make a bigger move. Look, here's the deal, Big O. I sat down and I spoke to the Heat, and they said this, and I agree with this. If they knew everything on July 1 that was going to happen, that Kevin Durant was going to go back to the Nets, that Donovan Mitchell was going to wind up in the Cavaliers, if they knew that entire landscape, there is no question the nominal amount of extra money for PJ Tucker, probably $4 million total over 3 years, they would have spent. That was a procedural matter because they didn't want to be hard capped in case they wanted to make a bigger move. That's different than the tax. Here's part 2 of the tax. You can't be 3 things at once. You can't be a defiant non-taxpayer, and you have that right. You can't be a developmental team wanting to maximize your developmental opportunities, which means extra contracts. And you can't be sentimental when it comes to Udonis Haslem coming back for 20th season. So I think where we stand with the Heat is this. They tried to do everything.
It's funny, but you're unsentimental to bring back Wade, but you're sentimental to bring back Udonis Haslem.
Dwayne Wade was a hell of a lot more productive in the 2017
I know,
season.
but that's my point, that there was no excuse not to bring back Wade. You chose to give the money to Whiteside instead of Wade. It's like, I'm just saying.
And that's the thing. When you try to be everything to everyone, you get caught in the middle. What upsets me to a degree about this, and again, upset's the strong word because we're sitting here talking in October, is if you had a roster spot and paid the tax for Jamal Kane, you could have signed him to a long-term deal that if he has a good season, just like Caleb Martin, all of a sudden he's a free agent at the end of the season on his 2-way deal. And then you're wondering, can you afford to bring him back? Do you bring him back instead of someone? Do you lose Yurtsevin? Do you lose Gabe Vincent? Do you lose Max Strus? You get into that jackpot because you didn't fill that 15th roster spot. All that you had to do yesterday was say, Jamal Kane is signed to our 15th roster spot. He has a partial guarantee for this year, fully guaranteed January 10th. He also has 2 non-guaranteed or team option years, however you want to make it. And then if the kid blossoms, he's your guy. You're not all of a sudden you develop this guy and now you can't keep this guy anymore, like the concern was with Caleb Martin last offseason. That's a factor of the luxury tax. So PJ Tucker was a factor of the hard cap. That might still be in play. There still might be a blockbuster. Your friend Miles Turner, your friend John Collins, you might need to be soft cap for that. But when it comes to the luxury tax, you can go in there and simply say, we're not going to take a $10 million check from Adam Silver this year and move forward. But again, like I've tried to make this analogy, I'm probably bending over for a quarter. And I think you are too, from the humble roots you were raised in. If you're probably not a penny or a nickel, but if you see a quarter on the ground, you're probably going to bend over and pick it up.
Yeah, I'm getting that quarter. I'm getting that quarter, baby. Yeah.
You're getting the damn quarter.
The nasty ass penny is not what I'm doing. I'm not doing the nasty.
But I'm saying, so is the Arisons are saying this is $10 million. And whether we're billionaires or multi-billionaires, it's still a business decision. I get where they're coming from. I think by trying to be all things to all people, that's where they're getting caught in the middle. That's disappointing to me. And you know what, Big O? I think that's disappointing to Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler. Because here you are trying to maximize their careers at age 33 and 36 respectively. And yet you're saying, we're also going to take care of youth on our roster. We're also going to take care of sentimentality on our roster. And we're also going to take care of the luxury tax. So there is a little bit of the middle there. On that part, I do fully agree with you.
All right. Jamal Kane, let's get into that. explain to everybody in layman's terms, since you understand all this two-way contract gibberish stuff and all the different types of deals. What is it that they did to sign him and then release the other dude? I forgot the guy that they
Darius Days, and they released Darius Days. So what they did is basically they wanted Jamal Kane, but they didn't want to go into the tax. They didn't want to have to cut Haywood Highsmith. They could have done it that way also. So they signed him to it. And I liked him. He had a very nice finish in Memphis the other day. So basically, right now, Jamal Kane can play up to 50 regular season games, but is not playoff eligible. But that's fine. They have enough wiggle room under the cap that the last day of the season, they can convert him to a standard deal and have him eligible for the playoffs. What it means more than anything is they did it again. So when you and I are talking about Heat draft choices, oh, you can't trade a draft choice, and oh, they don't have any second-round picks. What this team does is they go out, and here's an interesting point, Big O. This team's not afraid of older rookies. This kid is a fifth-year senior. He played 4 years at Marquette. He played a year at Oakland University, the same school where Kendrick Nunn finished his collegiate career. So many teams are going, the kid's 23, 24 years old. He's too old to develop. The Heat are no. He's a mature player who could also help us right now, and he can. What I'm curious about, Big O, is this. In their wing rotation, they have Lowry, they have Butler, they have Hero, they have Oladipo, they have Struth, they have Robinson, they have Martin. I'm almost wondering, does this mean they might trade Duncan Robinson, that they might be opening a perimeter role, so they wanted another wing? Because it's interesting. They cut Darius Days, didn't really get a chance here. He's a power forward. They still don't have a power forward. But I think because Eric Spoelstra is positionless, he's saying, you know what? Give me my best 16 players on opening night, and I'll figure it out. And this kid, if you watched any of that Nets game, if you watched any of that Grizzlies game, and what mattered was this, Big O, those teams played their starters. Kevin Durant played. Ben Simmons played. John Morant played. Steven Adams played. So this was not a kid playing a summer league game or against the team's B team. And to see Taylor Jenkins, I was sitting second row in Memphis there, looking at what the Heat had out there, and he's like, what the hell is going on? And it reached the point that John Morant was so frustrated, he got a technical foul just before halftime because of the way his team is playing against the Jamal Canes. They find these guys, and this guy is a two-way player. This guy is athletic, and this team lacks athleticism. They did it again. So we can complain about the Heat not having draft choices, but right now I would say this. Jamal Kane is more NBA ready right now than Nikola Jovic is. Nikola Jovic has the far greater upside, but they also took care of the present. Yeah, you got to give the scouting staff a lot of credit.
Oh, yeah. No, dude. I mean, listen, and the good thing about Jamal Kane is he plays accordingly to wherever he's at. Like you just said, he was playing against number ones and he's holding his own. And then when you brought him into the summer league, he immediately impacted right away like he was one of the better players, because that's what you're supposed to do against guys that are either at your level or lower. You should dominate them and show off. And right away in those 2 short games that he played in the Vegas, I think it was 2 games only, and he looked like, whoa, who's this guy right away? And then now you watch him here and you're like, wow, here he is again. And what was his line? 19 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals.
And the night before, he had 15 points and 5 steals. So he's doing it on the defensive end. He's a complimentary player. He finished 3 in over 2 games. Alley-oop passes from Nikola Jovic, so he's showing he can adapt to new players. Yeah, it's a nice little find. And again, there have been other guys. Jeremy Bouye had his moments there in Memphis. Yeah, he'll be with the Skyforce, and our old friend Michael Mulder shows you never can have too much three-point shooting, because you know what? You probably want to get rid of the Duncan Robinson contract. Max Strus will be a free agent. You never know. So you keep that shooting in your pipeline.
Yeah, that kid is just not consistent, but he has the skill set.
When he's on,
Right. I think what they're trying to do is, if we could find a way to make him consistent, then he's going to become, a weapon overall. So I see the method behind the madness with Mulder, and it makes a lot of sense. By the way, the young kid, Jovic, maybe you're right. Maybe he will not see the sunlight of the G League, because he's actually doing some stuff here in the preseason.
Yeah. And again, just the fact is, I know you're saying the G League is the developmental league. You want him to work up there, But you have a chance to work with Malik Allen. You have a chance to work with Alonzo Mourning. You have a chance to work with Bam Adebayo and a veteran like Dwayne Dedmon. It might make some sense for him to get his work in here, even with Udonis Haslem pregame and those 3-on-3 sessions they have on the practice court. But man, this kid is skilled, and he's so young. I mean, you know the story.
Yeah,
We spoke about it Friday on our Acura Pembroke Pines report when I was in Memphis. Hasn't even graduated high school. So you're talking about unlimited promise and how far the kid can go. Last play of the game in Memphis, second to last play, they had an inbound. They were up 1. The Spoelstra basically gives you a list of you have to get it to shooter X, Y, or Z. He gets the inbounds pass. He throws it to Highsmith. He turns to Spoelstra and he goes, "I do good, coach, right?" And Spoelstra starts laughing and turns to Chris Quinn and smiles and walks away because this kid is so eager. This kid is such a sponge. It really is refreshing.
Yeah, it's actually cool. It was fun to watch. All right, they've got tonight a little Rockets action. What are we expecting from the Heat tonight?
I think there'll be a dress rehearsal, whether it's tonight or whether it's the preseason finale Wednesday against the Pelicans. You'll see Jimmy Butler, he'll be back. You'll see Kyle Lowry, he'll be back. I mean, it was crazy. They didn't even make those two go to Memphis. You talk about, again, you always hear about the rigidness of Pat Riley's systems. Jimmy Butler asked for the day off. He had a coffee convention he went to. Kyle Lowry had a chance to visit with family in Philadelphia. Hey, they weren't going to play anyway. So the Heat's a lot more bending than you think. Those two do need court time. We need to know, is Caleb Martin the best chemistry with Bam Adebayo at power forward? Who's going to be the third starting wing? It looks like it will be Tyler Hero right now. He was dealing with the injury. So you know what? They're home for these two. I think you'll see more regulars for another reason, Big O. After Wednesday's exhibition, they go a full week before they start the regular season against the Chicago Bulls. So I think getting a little bit of work in with the regulars, I think that's important this week.
All right, there you go. What are you working on, the Sun Sentinel, so Heat fans can check you out?
I just posted a feature on Michael Mulder, how it's like, you talk about the portrait of insanity is keep trying to do the same thing over and over. He's just going to try to get different results. He's not quit on this team. He's going to be cut later in the week. He'll try to come back a fourth time for the Heat to show he belongs. So I'm working on that. And then I did write, as you noted, on my Ask Ira today about the luxury tax. If you want a little more detail, you can go to sunsentinel.com and you can get all the answers spelled out there.
Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat and catch him 3 times a week here on the platform. Ira, as always, thank you, my friend. We'll catch you on Wednesday with the redrecover.com Inside the Paint Show.
Looking forward to it, and then it gets real next week. Thanks, Big O.
Damn right. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Ira. That is the Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA report.